Tukianza kuongea insurance, is this private? Na mheshimiwa PC na mama. Tatu tukianza kuongelea mambo ya insurance, waga tunaweza kumaliza mwezi mmoja. There are a lot of things ambayo na hakika the late Professor Professor Kaiiruki angekuwepo mpaka sasa hivi, nadhani vitu vingekuisha, vitatoa mapema. So that energy aliyokuwa nayo, vision aliyokuwa nayo, approach ni ngumu sana sisi kubaba tukianza. We're still struggling. There are a lot of things, just fire protections, insurance, controlling the cost of supply chain, the setting guidelines, contracts, prices, determining when and where to pay, how much should they pay, setting penalties, actual penalties, terminating contracts whenever they want, anytime they want. So those are the things ambazo sisi kama private sector, na naongelea private sector kwa sababu hospital, Kaiiruki hospital, in private. Likewise, food private. So those are the challenges ambazo kwa kweli tunaziface, ambazo tunapaswa kuzi. As private sector. Anything about insurance, anything about claims. That's not my time. If you get some ICT codes, who you can pack out. I'm challenging you. Sasa hivi amefanya nini? How training our nurses, how training doctors, how training our healthcare professionals. Can we improve? So training. Change. So we need to universities, colleges, and private. I'm telling you, after 5 years, somewhere anakuwa mental, anaweka program nzuri. Sidhani kama kiomba kwamba tunaomba wanafunzi wako mapako na tacha wanafunzi wako kaiba program nzuri, kitu gani nilishaka kama takataka. No. And we have doctors, so many doctors who are very, very good. We have so many nurses, very good nurses. Ambao tunaweza tukapeleka wanafunzi wetu wakawa tasi akamaliza wakiwa competent and better and ready to start. Tunahitaji tuwe na biotech club. Kuna Kaiiruki, kuna 6 Congo, kuna 6 tunapaswa tuwe na lab tuwatachi wanafunzi wetu wanasoma pharmacy, waende pale wajifunze, hata kama hamna biotech club, lakini wajue technical process. Sio mtu anamaliza pharmacy anaenda kufanya kwenye kiwanda cha infusion, hajawahi kukiona wala hajawahi kukanyaga, hajui. Lakini hao kiwanda vya madawa Why are we not sending our doctors there? Sending our pharmacists there to learn? Kuanzia mapema. So those are the challenges na maybe come after, after we are ready for it. You guys, the university, then kama hospital Kaiiruki ndio kwa namba moja kwenye association. Tokea na anaianzisha mpaka sasa hivi mama anaendelea, mmoja yupo na mwingine hawajui kuacha hapa. Lakini lazima tuendelee encourage more members to join. Second, we must embrace innovation. Without losing money, we have to innovate. Lazima technology. Professor Kaiiruki alikuwa nadhani kwanza ndani nchi imeanzia hapa. Naomba mnikoreke if I'm wrong. Ndio, technology is very, very important. Because back in technology. Third, we must develop the next generation leaders. The next generation of leaders is very important. Ambao wataendeleza kile kizuri ambao watakuwa nasema this is the legacy of the late Professor Kaiiruki. Ameacha hii. Kama asingeacha siweza kwa mentor na kupenda mzuri wanaoendesha sasa hivi. Probably this is problem chosen problem all that I want to know. Kama sisi tunapenda nadhani the late Kaiiruki aikafanya mama mpaka sasa bado yuko na this is not only big problem us like teachers and this is policymakers. So what do you know? Finally, we must
For this, I'm going to share two technologies at Kaiiruki which have advanced from the beginning till today. And I'll start with IVF. With IVF, many couples struggle to conceive due to conditions such as blocked fallopian tubes, hormonal problems, infections, male infertility, and so forth. In our community, infertility is always surrounded by stigma and silence, leading to emotional pain and delayed management. In vitro fertilization, or IVF, is a medical technology where eggs and sperm are combined outside the body in a laboratory and a healthy embryo is then placed into the womb. This allows doctors to bypass many of the biological barriers that prevent natural conception. IVF is one of the most researched and regulated fertility treatments worldwide. Decades of scientific studies show that it significantly improves pregnancy and live birth rates, especially for couples who have tried for years without success. Success rates have improved due to better laboratory methods and safer treatment protocols. For patients, IVF offers hope where there was once despair. It provides a real chance to build a family. It reduces the years of emotional suffering and allows couples to receive care based on science rather than myth and blame. Second one, we have HIFU, High Intensity Focused Ultrasound, is a non-invasive medical technology that uses focused ultrasound waves to destroy abnormal tissue without cutting the body. The treatment is guided by imaging, allowing doctors to target disease precisely while protecting healthy Before HIFU, a woman with fibroids had to choose between pain and surgery. Today, she can choose treatment without scars. Before IVF, infertility was a lifelong labor. Today, it's a medical condition with options. Clinical studies and real-world hospital experience show that HIFU effectively reduces symptoms, shrinks prostate, fibroids, and other tumors while improving quality of life. It has been safely used in many countries with low complication rates and shorter recovery time compared to surgery. For patients, HIFU means treatment without scars, minimum pain, and faster return to normal life. It preserves the organs, supports the future, and offers safer options for people who wish to avoid surgery. But, keynote, HIFU is not about avoiding surgery. It's about respecting the body by treating disease without harming what is healthy. Not many centers in Africa can offer IVF and HIFU under one roof, guided by evidence, ethics, and follow-ups. At Kaiiruki, advanced technology is not about machines. It's about restoring health, hope, and quality of life. Every technology at Kaiiruki, for example, CT scan, angiogram, laser, the new one, IVF, HIFU, they're not just treatment. They are knowledge in making. By documenting outcomes and asking simple questions, clinicians can become contributors to science, not just consumers of it. When we generate our own evidence, technology improves, care becomes safer, and solutions become truly Tanzanian. Research is not separate from clinical work, it is natural extension. For scientists, these technologies generate data. For families, they generate hope. And for Kaiiruki, both matter equally. When you import new technology, it's not just about using it, it's about translating it safer and with dignity, preserving the dignity of the patients. Without technology, Tanzanians will have normal local treatment. But with technology, Tanzanians will feel valued, secured in healthcare. Professor Janani just published a paper recently reading African-led health innovation investment can build a prosperous continent. It's a very good read, combining these two, research and treatment. This journey was built on vision. We honor the legacy of late Professor Kaiiruki and Mama Kaiiruki, whose commitment to excellence, compassion, and innovation led to Foundation of Kaiiruki to grow into an institution where advanced technology serves humanity. Their visions lives on through every patient treated, every life restored, and every future shaped at care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Beatrice. Our next speaker will be Professor Edwin Nossi. Professor Nossi is an associate professor of nutrition at Kaiiruki University and the immediate past deputy vice chancellor for planning, finance, and administration, having worked 12 years. Former managing director of Tanzania Food and Nutrition Center for 9 years. He holds Bachelor in Science and Master of Science from the University of Dar es Salaam and PhD from Cornell University, USA in Nutritional Sciences. He's passionate about research ethics. He served as the Executive Secretary to TNC Research and Ethics Committee for over 10 years and received certification in international health research ethics from Johns Hopkins in 2001. Currently co-opted member of Kaiiruki University Institutional Research and Ethics Committee, and today he will be speaking about building ethical, compassionate, and competent human capital. Welcome, Professor.
hosts, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I will now go over colleagues in the audience who have mentored me, but also directed me in various ways to be able to stand here before you today, this afternoon. And one of them is Professor Kaiiruki. He was my Vice Chancellor here at Kaiiruki University, but also my mentor at the University of Dar es Salaam for at least 2 years before I graduated. And so I'm very pleased that he's able to join us for this particular occasion. But I also recognize the presence of many distinguished persons who have been introduced to us. Honorable Anna Makila, former Speaker of the National Assembly of this country. Mama Kaiiruki, our champion in this cause that we are together now. But many other persons in the audience. Salimuni na Penish Mazenu sana. This afternoon I've been asked to talk about building ethical, compassionate, and competent human capital. But before I go into that, I'd like to remind us that the late Professor Kaiiruki had amongst his many visions the institutions that we are serving today. And in penning the vision, mission, and the motto of the university, he also penned core values of the institution. And I'm going to read just one of the 5 core values of this institution. The first one is professionalism. And here it says the university shall adhere to high professional ethics and standards and impart these elements to the students. The second one is excellency, and the excellence here also relates to the topic that I've been asked to speak a little bit about, and so I'm going to read it. The university is committed to excellence. We shall continue to recruit the most promising students, faculty, and staff, and provide them with resources to excel. Now let me quickly then turn to the comment that I was supposed to provide on this, on today's lecture. When we talk about building ethical, compassionate, and competent human capital in Tanzania, our greatest challenge is not the absence of technical training, but the gap between what we train for and how professionals actually practice once they enter the work system. The gap between what we train for and how professionals actually practice once they enter the work system. We are, as a university, producing graduates who can pass examinations. Yet our communities still experience disrespectful care. When the keynote speaker was talking about this, he said, when our leaders go around the country, they are not short of words of saying that a doctor mishandled a patient or a nurse mishandled a patient and things like that. And so we have disrespectful care, weak accountability, and leadership that is often reactive rather than visionary. This forces us to ask a difficult question. Are our health and education systems rewarding competence and integrity, or are they merely survival or simply rewarding survival within constrained systems? This is a question. Ethics and compassion cannot be treated as soft add-ons. In other words, the guest speaker alluded to this. We cannot teach only the hard medical staff and then relegate things to do with ethics on the side. It's not so important. It's something you can pick up on the way. And yet we're saying, no, it should not be taken as an add-on, but it's rather something that should be actually in the central component of our curriculum. In Tanzanian hospitals and schools, compassion is not a luxury. It is a determinant of trust, service uptake, and outcomes. When patients avoid facilities or parents lose confidence in schools, the cost is not just moral, but it is developmental. You alluded to it, sir, that if your facility is not doing very well, you will get the answer by looking at the numbers of people that can visit you to seek your services. And so it's an almost ready-made answer if you're not measuring up to the expectations of your clients or stakeholders. So if we want professionals who combine technical excellence with integrity, we must redesign training and deployment. Curricula should confront real ethical dilemmas faced in understaffed wards, overcrowded classrooms, and resource-limited settings. Mentorship must be valued as much as credentials. And perhaps, most provocatively, promotion and leadership selection must reward ethical conduct and service to communities, not only years of service or academic titles. The future of Tanzania's health and education systems will not be secured by infrastructure alone. It will be secured by people who can lead with competence, courage, and compassion, especially when the system itself makes this difficult. The question before us, therefore, is not whether we know what to do, but whether we're willing to align our policies, incentives, and leadership culture with values that we publicly endorse. Thank you very much.
I think that was a thought-provoking presentation, and has given us more to reflect on. So our last but not least discussion this afternoon is Professor Florence Salvatore Calabamu. He's an associate professor of pediatrics and child health at Kaiiruki University with over a decade of experience in clinical practice and research. His work focuses on quality improvement in newborn care, prevention of infectious diseases through safe and effective vaccination, and health promotion. So we are honored to invite you, Professor Calabamu, to contribute on a discussion on research, partnership, and community engagement for sustainable development.
Thank you so much. So our esteemed guests, the protocol observed, good afternoon once again. So as a discussant, what I'm going to do is just to go a bit deeper to what the keynote speakers said, and with much focus on the importance of research and the collaboration to bring impact in the community and also to improve quality of care among the communities which we serve. And we know that the hospitals, the universities, our main aim is to serve the communities, regardless of whether we are from the public or from the private sector. So we serve the same community, and also we serve the same human beings. So as from the keynote speech, that we have to collaborate. We have to make sure that we bring together our strength so that we have much impact. So I'm going to highlight on how research and also how collaboration can bring impact in our communities and also in healthcare provision. So in research, in any university, as part of Kaiiruki University, we have to do research. We have to generate evidence. And we have to make sure that the evidence we generate inform the policymakers and also inform those who are providing care so that they can improve what they are doing. So we have to make sure that we know what are the burden of diseases in our communities. Because whether you are in a private sector or in the public sector, you have to plan for what is happening in your facilities. And also as the country, you have to plan for what is happening in the country. So you may save, let's say, a lot of resources for infectious diseases, while we know that the trend is changing. Nowadays, the leading cause of illnesses are the non-infectious diseases. And even previously, we knew that most of the cancers were in the elderly. But nowadays, even the younger ones are having cancers. Even the incidence of cancers are increasing. So we have to do research and understand what are the drivers of these new changes, so that we inform the policymakers, we inform the healthcare providers, but also we have to inform the financing system of this management of these diseases. So that's the importance of how research can transform healthcare provision. But also we have to do even clinical trials. That yes, we know that we have diseases, we know that some of the medicines are not working, maybe we have to improve. Maybe we have to introduce other medicines. But how do we know that they are working? We have to do research. So by doing that, we are going to innovate and make sure that we have more improved tools for management of patients within the hospitals, and also appropriate preventive measures. And another thing is about the collaborations. That they say that if you want to move faster, then you have to move alone. But if you want to reach far, you have to move with others. And this means that we have to leverage on the strength of each other so that we have much impact. So I'm going to link that with Professor Kaiiruki's vision, but also what is happening in our communities now. For example, in research, we have to collaborate with the others because we have different strengths. We have to make sure, let's say, for example, you may be having facilities, for example, the hospitals and also the teaching rooms, but you may not have the funds to do research. But what do? Then you have to collaborate with those who have funds so that you can do research. Because we have capacity, let's say you have researchers, you have clinicians who can collect data. Also, they can give information of what is happening within these facilities. So if you collaborate, it's very easy for you to bring new information as quick as possible. And Kaiiruki has been doing that since the vision of Professor Kaiiruki. Because since the inception, for example, we have seen that Kaiiruki Hospital was collaborating with the religious groups and also with other partners from outside of Tanzania for different, let's say, donations, for example, the books, for example, the transport for the students. But is that because of collaborations and the way you are interconnected with other partners within that particular area. And also, for example, we are collaborating with the other public hospitals. For example, Mwananyamala, Temeke, Muhimbili, to make sure that our students are exposed to a lot of different types of patients. And for example, if we were to use our hospitals only, maybe Kaiiruki Hospital only, maybe we could be producing not more than 40 doctors in a year. But because of this collaboration, we can produce up to more than 200 doctors who are injected within the health system. And these are going to treat different patients in different hospitals, whether in private, whether in public, or whether in NGOs for preventive purposes. So you can see how important it is for us to collaborate. But also there is another issues of, let's say, as we have said that from the keynote speech, that we have not gone that far to collaborate with the private hospitals, especially in Dar es Salaam. But at least we have expanded this, and I think you have highlighted the most important thing, that we have to go beyond the public facilities. And we know that we have a lot of students from even other universities. So we are competing within the same facilities. Maybe your idea can be applied so that we go further beyond the public facilities. And that will not only benefit Kaiiruki, but also even the facilities where we'll be teaching in those hospitals. Because even the experts from Kaiiruki can also provide services within those particular hospitals. So I think it's very important, and it can move us forward compared to where we are now. And also, another important is the issues of capacity building. So we know that we need capacities in our facilities in Ken. We need to have experienced staff, researchers, to do research. But also, we need to know that we have limited resources. It's like, for example, if you are in a private facility, it's very rare to get scholarship from the government. But for me, for example, when I started in master's degree, the scholarship was for all MMed students, regardless of where you are, private or public. But nowadays, even those in public don't get funded. So, which means that you have to leverage on other sources of funding for capacity building. And for example, Kaiiruki has been collaborating with other institutions outside of Tanzania and inside Tanzania, some universities from Australia and some from America, whereby some of the staff from our institution have been benefiting from these kind of collaborations. We have more than 3 PhDs who have graduated recently and also benefited from this kind of collaborations with the US universities. So this is quite important. You can see how you can leverage on the strengths of others to advance your vision and mission. Thank you very much.
For your excellent insights as well. So at this point now, we would like to open the floor for discussion and questions from the audience. But first, may I kindly invite our keynote speaker, Dr. Edina, and all our discussants, Dr. Beatrice, Professor Ndosi, Professor Florence, and Dr. Ogish, to take the high table seats. Naomba sasa tuwapigie makofi yote kwa pamoja hata katika kiti chao. Right. So nafikiri wote tulikuwa tunasikiliza kwa makini, na nafikiri ndio nafasi ambayo itasema kweli je, tulikuwa tunasikiliza au tulikuwa tusikiliza. Kama tusikiliza kweli, basi tutakuwa na maswali mengi na mazuri. So invite members of the audience to share your questions. Maybe Speaker Mamdo Tarusu, you might introduce yourself briefly, but you try as much as possible to keep your questions concise and focused, and you can direct your question to any of our speakers, and so that we can have an engaging and thoughtful discussion. So, karibuni sana.
Just raise your hand and tell me we have like 15 minutes for this.
The Excellencies at the High Table, Madam Kaiiruki, Vice Chancellor, inshallah, good friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'm really excited to have been participating in this program whereby we are actually honoring the legacy of late Professor Kaiiruki. Having heard the speakers, and my main focus will be focused to the gentleman who is looking eye to eye with me, and that is none other than the president of AFTA. Very well said, very well articulated your speech in a very nice way, and you have very nicely honored late Professor Kaiiruki. My question is now focused on private and public. We have always been actually competing rather than complementing. You would see that the public institutes are being built in such a way that they really want to be the state-of-the-art institutes with very sophisticated and advanced technology. At the same time, the private institute also wants to go in for the same. The strength is with the private institutes, the entrepreneurs, the corporate. So how do we actually address whereby we can say that the public institutes, you need to be basic with little advances and be supportive to the private institutes? Maybe this is the focus of discussion, if we can just address these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So actually we're going to take the questions first, the questions, and then they will get to respond to all the questions that we have.
Yeah, Honorable Guest, I'm thank you very much. Presenters, was appreciate your presentations for the day. But I have questions to Dr. Habari. What Dr. Habari said, private hospitals or private facilities could contribute to training of students. But we are very much aware that not everybody or not every private facility can support the training of students. As after what I would expect from you is for you to organize yourselves, identify facilities which can provide support to training of medical students and other students, and be proactive to approach training institutions with that indication that you could support training. But not only that, one of areas which you could support is by providing the training or the teaching material. Because this is an area which is also overbearing on the teaching institutions. And I know, coming from was you don't get enough for support the procurement of teaching material for students who would be attached in private facilities. So how do you think you could handle that support teaching as you suggested? Yeah, number two is, this is a comment. Professor Kaiiruki did not only support education and provision of services. And I want to tell you what I always say. Look around the university. Look at the different vendors. Look at the livelihoods that are being supported. All sorts of different businesses. And look at the investment of tax collection from these people who do business around. So there is a domino effect in improvement of livelihoods, but also in improving revenue collection.
Thank you so much. We have another comment here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obana, protocol observed, together with the main presenter and the discussant from Dr. Mwape outside his institution, but then internally from Professor Rossi, Professor Salvatori, and Dr. Michuzi and Michuzi. It has been an enlightenment this afternoon to see different opportunities that are there today when it comes to this area of this education and this part of the health and the way they work together as a mini education and practice. but also it has been good to see sometimes we need to face challenges. So it is good to hear about them so that we can be able to know in different engagements that we are having in the institution and outside the institution, how we can be able to solve them and then advance as institutions, but as a country as well. So that has been good. Now, one thing, Dr. Makwabe, when you are presenting, you brought something very interesting and a very discussion today, especially now with this new, policy on education and training 2023 that has came up when our president has inaugurated it recently. And one of the things that they are emphasizing there in the for our universities and therefore this university is the issue of competence based. But the other thing is that you mentioned actually is the issue of those additional skills apart from that medical per se related skills. And then that's when it is bringing me on the aspect of, in this 21st century, what are soft skills that, in addition to those main ones, what are soft skills that can be able to assist us to navigate better in today's practice, where you are doing here at Kaiiruki, but also in others, public and private institutions. So normally when you talk about soft skills, 21st century skills, you talk about collaboration, that we emphasized on it, but also the issue of communication, you brought about the customer care and so on. But now the good thing as you are presenting, then I remember the new approach also, apart from those, altogether with that is the issue of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. How many have heard about emotional intelligence here in this audience? Oh yes, there are some. That's very good. So we can exchange, right? Now, issue of emotional intelligence. Now, issue of emotional intelligence, when it comes to medical, nurse, etc., that we are in this audience, it becomes important because all these 21st centuries, when it comes to collaboration, communication, also you can be able to embed them there. And we are talking about 4 aspects. One is self-awareness, that you yourself as a medical personnel or a student, etc., to understand yourselves. But also social awareness, not only to understand yourself, but also to understand those patients that will be coming there, and so on. Now as a medical student, but then later as a practitioner. How you can be able to handle them, the situation. These are sometimes people are coming sick, the situation that they are coming in. You have to understand them so that you can be able to increase the customer satisfaction and so on. So those 2, but then there are other 2 aspects, self-management. The issue of self-management in terms of how do you manage your emotions? How do you control your emotions as you are providing services or as you are studying as a medical student so that you can be able to provide better medical students later. But the issue of relation management, the relational management, where we are working with Professor Sabato was talking about research, collaboration, internally and externally. So we are talking about working with others. So we need to see how do we relate with others, whether it's a collaborator or you are a fellow medical nurse, where you can be able to discuss an issue that has happened in our patient and then you get to the solution. So those are 4 things. That probably one of the things, Dr. Makwabe, that you mentioned, is that we can embed this in our curriculum. Fortunately, the policy in the country is already requesting us to do that. So it is now to take this opportunity of this talk this afternoon to see how we can be able to embed this in our curriculum. Maybe we are doing it, maybe how we can be able to do even better in completeness, so that we could have a better link of in academia and industry, by also considering those soft skills that we add value, as Dr. Makwabe was saying. Now, questions to Dr. Makwabe, as you were presented, you are the president, you are leading the after, right? So what are you doing, or what will you be doing after this? You started yourself on this. What will you be doing to ensure that, because it's the academia and industry partnership, what will you be doing, or what you are doing to make sure that these kind of soft skills, they will be better, and then you can be able to get better people, better professionals when you are employing them. That's goes to that. But to our university, Kaiiruki University, led by Professor Mbose and Professor Sabato, in our education, in our university, the policy is already indicating that we should do that. So what are you doing, up to now in this issue of also including soft skills, this kind of emotional intelligence, so that our people, when they finish our profession, our students, they can be able to get better medicals, better healthcare professionals. So those are two questions that I'm getting to you. And of course, without leaving out these practitioners, Beatrice and Mukiza, how then yourself, you mentioned Mukiza very well that we feed the university so that they can be able to produce better people, right? Better professionals. So how you can be able to continue ensuring in that link we also propagate this issue of soft skills as well as emotional intelligence so that we can be able to get better professionals for this private hostels, but also for public as well, for nation as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, distinguished guest of honor and all the members of this protocol being observed. I have also some questions that I would like to make. Lakini kabla siulize swali naomba nitolee maelezo kidogo. Kwanza I would like to appreciate the legacy that we say. We all know the legacy that Professor Kaiiruki had on the community at large. Lakini pia on how the Kaiiruki community has been advancing day in the technology. Sasa nilipenda kujifunza from all the discussant with what had been said kwamba as the next generation health aspirant, ningependa kufahamu kwamba unavyotaka kuanzisha taasisi labda ya afya huko baadaye, what do you consider? Do you consider impacting community at large ama you consider on advancing technology? Na maanisha nini kwa kusema hivyo? Kwamba unalenga zaidi katika kuwasaidia watu wengi ama unaangalia katika kukua kwa teknolojia? Kwa sababu nikizungumza katika kukua kwa teknolojia, hapo kuna gharama sana sana katika matibabu. Tumesikia kuhusiana na IVF na tumesikia kuhusiana na HIV, ambao ukiangalia kwa zote zile gharama zake ziko juu. Sasa kwa sisi ambao tunakuwa, ukitaka kuanzisha huko baadaye, what do you consider? Do you consider impacting the community at large, or do you consider in modernizing the technology? Thank you so much.
I have one question from a student. I think this will be our last question.
Thank you so much. Esteemed guest of honor and all other esteemed guests, protocol observed. My name is Michael Shwaide, MD3 student at Kaiiruki University. Thank you so much, Dr. Makwabe, for the insightful presentation. You emphasized on the importance of mentoring medical students early by linking them with hospitals so that they graduate as competent practitioners, and also the need to build the next generation of leaders. So my question is, how can such mentorship programs be structured in a sustainable way to ensure that medical students not only gain clinical competence during training, but also nurtured into ethical and visionary leaders? And what role should universities, private hospitals, and students themselves each play in making this vision practical? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Sasa naomba nitawisha mic the high table ianze kujibu swali, lakini kabla sijafanya hivyo, I'd like to uwepo wa Dr. Morgan, the Vice Chair of the Kaiiruki Health Education Network. Not from Dr. Morgan. So katika kujibu maswali, tutaanza with other discussants, then the keynote atajibu mwishoni. Bila kimaliza kujibu, atatoa kabisa na zile closing remarks. Asante.
Thank you very much. Maybe, if I may start with the question that was imposed on us: how can we address issues of emotional intelligence with the education curriculum that we have at the university? It might be difficult to address
some rising challenges in between, because I know reviewing curriculums might be a longer process, but emotional intelligence can be easily addressed with our students and young colleagues through official trainings, like through webinars using the advantage of technology, but also organizing mentorship trainings whereby we can address issues which are quite growing currently in our community, and which our students being part of the community, they are not, they are prone to get the same challenges as other people in the community. But also, during ward rounds, we can create a very friendly environment as we interact with our young colleagues, thus raising main issues like ethical, how can you deal with stress, how can you deal with something so simple as financial management, which might be something that somebody who graduates might face, and it might be a very serious problem to him or her in the future. But also, I know that, and I acknowledge that even here at Kaiiruki University, there are clubs and there are students' associations. Through these associations, as alumni, but as senior colleagues, we can also reach them through their interactive sessions, their conferences, their daily activities, and thus we can tunaweza tukashare now, sababu being a senior means you passed so many hurdles, means you are able to know if you face one, two, three, these are the solutions that you can bring about. Maybe if somebody else can add on to
that. Thank you all for your discussion points and questions. I'd like to quickly just touch on what Dr. Mukiza's. Sorry. Sorry. Is there a third one? He was talking about imparting soft skills to our young professionals. Excuse me. We in the audience, at least those from the university, know our colleague, Dr. Wallace Charles. He always tells us when he goes out to the clinical sites, students from other universities flock to our group because we are almost the only institution that sends out a lecturer to go mentor our students at the clinical sites. And that's extremely important because it is when students can observe how the master, this master in this case, the teacher, is going to handle a particular situation, a particular crisis, a particular whatever you can define it. And so learning by one observing, but also seeing how they touch, seeing how they communicate with the different stakeholders that they go meet at the clinical sites. And so those soft skills should be the skills that the students would see on the mentor, how the mentor does it, how the mentor handles that situation. If you only lecture them at the lecture theater here, the Ketom Shigeni Hall, and then you let them go out in the field by themselves, they're missing out. And so one of the ways, sir, is to help those students observe how you would handle specific situations on the ground. At least as far as I'm concerned, that is how I would do it. It doesn't only happen in the medical field. I think it happens in other fields as well. When you observe, you listen, you see, you pick up certain skills that are important for your future practice. A question was asked about how do we involve private institutions to contribute to training. He will be a better person to speak to that, but let me just offer my very candid suggestion here, that in the public, they have an obligation, madam, they have an obligation to serve the public that pays the taxes. They contribute money to the government so that the government can serve the persons that, that pay the taxes. In the private sector, I would imagine, one would have to see what is in it for me as a private sector. If I contribute to the training, what is it for me? What is in it for me as a private institution? And so that equation has to be balanced, has to be asked every time for people to be convinced that it is worth engaging in that particular relationship before you invest in it. I think it is common sense. And so, but again, as I said, I'm going to leave my, very qualified colleague here to respond to that. There was also a question asked about how are we going to handle the next generation if one wanted to start a health facility? Would they have to start with a sophisticated, high-tech facility? And my question is, anybody in their rightful mind, if they wanted to invest in something, they would have to see, is there a need for what they want to invest anyway? If that need is there, then there's every reason for you to put out resources to be able to invest in that particular venture. So before you think high-tech, is the problem that is here requiring high-tech? If not, then go for high-tech. Go for things, processes, whatever it is, that immediately answers or responds to the immediate need that is where you want to invest. Again, let me leave that to the better informed colleague to respond to that. The last one I wanted to just say something about here is about mentoring student sustainably. Okay, that's a tricky one, but let me say my offer on that would be, if the public institutions, the private institutions see something in mentoring students, they would like to engage in it because they'll have something to get out of it. None of the students that we teach here are meant to go to, name it. They are just students trained for Tanzanian society. They will go to the public, they'll go to the private, they'll go everywhere. And one of the things that some colleagues of mine have said here is, if you produce a medical doctor, or even a nurse for that matter, or even a social worker, Dr. Kaiiruki, if they cannot handle your loved one in the way that you would wish for them to be able to handle them, then I think you're not doing a good job. But if you trust them so much so that you can actually say, go attend my grandma, or my grandchild, or my child, or my spouse, then I think we're doing a good job. Finally, I had a very small comment, and my Vice Chancellor here said it to us one time, and said when he was a medical school student, one of his professors is the one that actually inspired him to go ahead and do a degree in physiology. He can tell you a little bit more about that. And so for every one of us, there is a mentor. There's someone that you look up to. Mama Kaiiruki, let me say that when I was a young professional, I was invited to a committee that Professor Kaiiruki was also a member, and so we met at the Science and Technology. I was so excited that day because I always looked up to him and said, I'm going to meet him one of these days. In 1981, when were you still at Australia? Ndolage. Was he still at Ndolage? Because that's what I remember. When I was a graduate student, I was doing research on anemia and stuff. And one of my mentors said, we should go to Ndolage. And I know it's because he had been there and met Professor Kaiiruki at that time. But years later, then I came to meet Professor Kaiiruki in person, and it was my high day because I really admired that person. Mama, I really did. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So maybe before I have a little contribution on the issues of soft skills, maybe from the previous speaker about the interinstitutional collaboration between Kenyan institutions, there is something which I did not highlight. And it is that we are in the process of establishing a clinical trial unit at Kaiiruki University. And when you have a clinical trial unit, it means that you can conduct at higher level clinical trials. So when you grade the evidences from research, I think the randomized controlled trials are the best, apart from the systematic review and everything. So some of the facilities which we are using now, we are planning to use, are the ones which were being used by Kaiiruki hospital staff. But they are ready to leave those facilities for us so that we can do the clinical trials. So you can see how we are collaborating together to make sure that we have much impact more than we are doing now. Now, going back to the issues of emotional intelligence, and yes, we are teaching it, but in an integrated manner. For example, in the curriculum we have the topics like medical psychology, for example. We have medical sociology, but also we have communication skills. All of those are tailored at making sure that the students have soft skills to communicate, not only with the patients, but also with other colleagues. But also we teach about the doctor-patient relationship, or healthcare providers and patient relationship, and also relationship with other colleagues. How do you relate? How do you pass information? Because emotional intelligence is about managing your emotions, but also reading other people's emotions so that you make decisions. So it's not like a topic per se, but it is in an integrated manner. From those classrooms in medical psychology, in medical ethics, and up to the bedside. How do you communicate with the patient? How do you deliver information to the patient regarding his or her illness? How do you communicate with the families? Because they are stakeholders. You cannot just tell them that whatever is happening, but you have to read their emotions. You have to make sure that you prepare them so that they receive your information. So those are part and parcel of teaching. Maybe the question will be, can they be improved now? Or do they have impact? Does it reflect what they are doing or what they are communicating out of the university? That's another thing. Because even the way we raise our children nowadays is not the way we used to be in the past. Are they going to change that after joining university? If they cannot communicate with the peers, if they cannot communicate with parents. Because even parents, we have subcontracted rearing our children to the TVs and social media platform and others. So are they going to change after joining university? So it's something which needs further conversation. But yes, we are doing it in an integrated manner. Thank you.
All right. Now, I'm the only one who have almost seven questions. So I'm not sure if I'm not going to answer them well or I'm going to get supplementary. But I will try my best. So let me start with the first question from Dr. Arab. And when we are talking about the mentor, Dr. Arab is my mentor. And especially in AFTA. When I joined AFTA and AFTA board for the first time, we were together with Dr. Arab, who was the secretary of AFTA, and he mentored me. So thank you, Dr. Arab, for your mentorship and everything. So he asked one question regarding private-public facilities competing, and they are building the nice buildings, equipment, technology, and how do we address this? It's difficult to address this, but what I can say is we should not be reinventing the wheel. We should learn from our colleagues and countries which are much more developed than us. We all know the history of Asian tigers. How did they develop? How and why Tanzanians and other African countries flocking every day, going for medical tourism and treatment in India and South Africa, Malaysia, and not in Burundi, not in Ethiopia, not in other African countries. The secret behind is collaborations, as I said. The government, if the government will be able to deal with primary health care, that every single individual in this country should be able to access health. And then let us deal with the primary health care and leave these advanced procedures, advanced technologies to the other people, like private sector. Then that would work properly. This is the third world country. And we are in the lower middle income country. We have a mega resource. If we can't distribute our resources properly, then we won't be able to progress properly. So if we leave those people who can invest in healthcare and do those high technology, high surgeries, high, oncology, and then the government with those mega resources concentrate in primary health care, then first of all, we get two results. One, the progress will be very, very fast because those small amount of money that the government has will be distributed to the people who are in need. Number two, we'll get progress in terms of people, because people will invest. And people from outside, companies from outside the country will come and invest. When we are being referred to go to India, we are not going to the government facilities. Nobody. Every one of us we know it. We are going to the private facilities. All those Apollos, Medantas, and all other facilities, pharmaceutical industries are private, supported by the government. So the government should support private, that's my thought, should support the private so that private sector can thrive, take care of the people who are able to pay, and those who are not able to pay can be supported by the government. So if we do that, then it can be easy, and it will be a win-win, and our people will benefit. Question number 2, hostel could contribute in training from the professor. Your question was private hostel could contribute to training, but not all hospitals are ready. And how can we organize our facilities that can support training and provide training materials as a support? Yeah, after we are ready, any day, any time. I completely agree with you 100% that not all facilities are ready to do that. But I can assure you there are so many facilities which are ready to support and receive students to come to our facilities and support. I know them, and as after we are ready, we can work together and see how that collaboration can work. So provision of health teaching materials, and again, there are so many hostels which are ready to provide those training materials. So it's not a problem. If we work together, and Kaiiruki, Honorable Vice, can be the example, can be a guinea pig. You can start with that and then see. We are ready. We are ready. So another question was the education policy of 2023, the issue of additional soft skills in medicine. What other soft skills do I think can be added apart from what I presented there? I can just mention one. Phlebotomy. Simple phlebotomy. We are seeing how many patients here at Kaiiruki? Probably 500, 400 per day. How many patients goes to the lab? Probably 200 or 300. Who does the phlebotomy? A lab technician, lab scientist. Do we need a lab technician, lab scientist to do phlebotomy? Can we have a small course of phlebotomy? And then those who graduate, they sit there in the lab, they do phlebotomy? Yes, it's possible. It is. And by the way, for example, in Kenya, they have that course already. One of my employees in my lab was trained has a Bachelor of Phlebotomy, graduated in Nairobi. And she works in my lab. All she does is on phlebotomy from morning to evening. Ukishindwa, unamuita yeye, even in the ward. Because they've been trained for 3 years just for phlebotomy. So those are small skills that are needed. The requirement is there. And they will be employed. I can assure you 100% they will be employed. They will get jobs immediately after graduation. So those are other soft skills that can be added. Yeah, emotional intelligence, I think they have also has already been answered properly. Another question was, what will AFTA do to make sure that soft skills are embedded in training so that we get the better doctors when they graduate? Yeah, I think that has already been answered. Yeah, for the sake of time. Yeah, but as I say, we are ready to collaborate. Just come to us. We'll be there. We can come and collaborate. Our doctors, they are not lecturers, they are not professors, but they can train. You can get knowledge from anywhere, from anybody. So, najua kunakuwa na requirements that anyone who can teach to the university should have this and this and this and this. But these skills, you get them from those people who are in practice, who are practicing every day. So we are ready. It's just to corroborate. Yeah. Another question was, how do you consider when you want to open, what do you consider when you want to open a facility in the future? Is it technology? Is it impacting the knowledge? The professor has already answered it properly, but I can say something on that. You know, when you want to invest anything, one question should be, am I going to provide solution? If your investment doesn't provide solution, that investment will never exist. So find a place where you think there's issues with health care provision, open your clinic or hospital. You'll be providing solution to the people, and people will come. Na utawatibu vizuri, and your clinic will grow. So your duka la dawa will grow, your lab will grow, because you are providing solution to the people. That's what I can tell you. Yeah, the last question, mentoring medical students, train next leaders. How can we make sure that they are achieved? It's by engagement. We have to engage each other so that mentorship is very, very, very important. If you don't have the mentor, you won't go anywhere. If you don't have leaders, the institutions will never stand. So you have to train the next leaders. You have to. Na sisi kwa mfano tunasema sisi wa Afrika kwamba una build institution au business ina survive in one generation. The next generation imesha kufa. Na hata kabla hujafa unaumwa, watoto wanaanza kugombania mali. Na wanaanza kuuza kabla hata hujafa. It's because we are lacking that what I've mentioned. Training the next generation. As soon as you open your business, as soon as you have an institution, train the next generation. Ili siku na ishiwa nguvu na choka, they take care. They take over. So that's what I can say. Then that is the most important thing. Asante. So those are the questions. Nadhani sijasahau.
Legacy of the founder of this institution, I think we should also celebrate and honor those who have shared his vision. And I'm not talking only about Mama Kaiiruki. I'm talking about the men and women. See, I was the first chairman of council. And when I came here, it was just soon after Professor Kaiiruki's demise, and there was a mood of despair, not despair, but of despondency, unsureness, and things were really hard. And when we sat in council to consider budgets, it was not a very pleasant kind of exercise. And one was sad to see that people could not be remunerated to levels that they really deserved. But you know what? People served this institution, they stuck around, they could have gone for better alternatives, but they served and stayed with a high level of commitment to serve this institution and to move it forward. And here we are now. So I really think that as we honor the founder of this institution, let us also really pay tribute to those who have shared his vision and who have collaborated with the utmost commitment to build this institution to this very high level. That's my comment. Keto, here you are. You don't have to sit, but I'm sure you can.
Mimi ni Vice Chancellor wa 3 katika hii taasisi. Nimefurahi sana kuona kwamba ile legacy tuliyoikuta iliyoanzishwa na founder na co-founder wa Kaiiruki. Mmeendeleza vizuri sana. Nawapongeza wote na wasemaji wote wa leo. Mbarikiwe. Asante.
Appreciate wazee wetu kwa yale ambayo wana appreciate tunayofanya. Makofi mengine tena. Before our hosting Kaiiruki stands, we have a small token, and this comes from Kaiiruki for the speakers. So we'll be handing some certificates to our discussant, and a small token of remembrance to our keynote speaker. I'll be handing it to Kaiiruki. Kaiiruki atampa mgeni wetu rasmi Chancellor, naye atawapa wasemaji wetu. Kwa sababu tunaanza na miradi kuu, basi kama wanaweza kusimama, tunashukuru ili kusudi picha zichukuliwe vizuri na atapeana mikono na wale waliosimama mbele. Tunaweza kufanya kwa miguu. This is a small token of appreciation from Kaiiruki to our guest speaker, actual keynote speaker, and Mama will be handing to Mheshimiwa Mama Makinda, and then Mama Makinda will hand to the speaker. Asante sana. Tunakushukuru sana Dr. Regina. Thank you so much. Now it's called Dr. Mkiza. Thank you so much for your contribution and for a lively discussion this afternoon. Karibu sana Dr. Mkiza. Now, Professor Florence Kalabam, karibu sana. Dr. Beatrice Kibanda, karibu. And last but not the least, Professor Godwin Dorsey, karibu sana. Asanteni sana sana. Samahani kwa nikumbushe kwenye viti. Asante. Na kisha niombe mama yetu, mwenyeji wetu wa event hii, Mrs. Kaiiruki, ambaye amesimamia kuhakikisha kwamba ndoto za muasisi zinatimilika, na mwenyekiti wetu wa Kenya. Nikaribishe sana mama, karibu.
Habari ya mchana. Naamini labda tumechoka sana, tunaweza tukasimama dakika moja tu ili kunyoosha
naomba tukae. Nasimama katika nafasi hii, kazi yangu tu ni kutoa shukrani. Kwanza kabisa namkaribisha sana Mama Akila ambaye kwa kweli alikuwa na kazi nyingi sana kule bungeni, lakini ameweza kuja huku. Asante sana mama yetu, kwa kweli amekuwa nasi bega kwa bega. Nakushukuru sana. Nishukuru na Profesa Kaiiruki kwa kuweza kupata nafasi. Kwa kweli sina la kusema isipokuwa nasema ninamshukuru Mungu kwa ajili yake. Naomba Profesa Michuzi pia ambaye kwa kweli amejitahidi kabisa kufika katika shughuli ya leo. Nashukuru kwa kweli, namshukuru kila mmoja ambaye amefika katika shughuli ya leo. Asanteni sana. Siwezi kutaja kila jina la mtu, lakini najua mtanielewa. Ninawashukuru. Kwanza kabisa nitoe shukrani nyingi kwa Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye ameniwezesha kuwa na uhai, na naamini mimi pamoja na wote mlio hapa siku ya leo kwa kumbukizi ya mwasisi wa Kaiiruki Health Education Network, hayati Profesa Kaiiruki aliyetutoka miaka 27. Kwa kweli Mungu anajua yote, anajua kila kitu. Hii institution haikuwa ya Mama Kaiiruki au familia peke yake. Hii institution imekuwa ni ya kila mmoja ambaye yuko hapa kwa kuiwezesha kusimama mpaka leo. Napenda kukupongeza na kukushukuru sana kwa utayari wako wa kukubali kutoa mhadhara wa 13. Asante sana. Nashukuru. Natambua kuwa una shughuli nyingi, lakini umetoa muda wako kutoa mhadhara wako leo. Asante, na Mungu anajua kazi uliyoifanya leo. Kwa kweli mhadhara huu nilikuwa nasikilizia na nafikiri ulikuwa ni mhadhara mkubwa sana sana. Mafundisho yako ambayo umeyatoa hapa kwa kweli yalikuwa ya muhimu sana sana sana, kutukumbusha mambo mengi kwa ajili ya mwanzilishi aliyetuachia kazi hii. Na kushukuru umetusimua na kutukumbusha urithi wa hayati Profesa Kaiiruki aliyotuachia katika utoaji wa elimu ya juu na huduma ya kitabibu ndani na nje ya mipaka yetu. Naamini kila mmoja wetu uliyepo hapa leo tumejifunza kitu kutokana na mada zilizotolewa, pia na majumuisho ya mhadhara ambayo umemaliza kuyatoa. Yote haya yaliyozungumzwa hapa, sisi kama bodi tutayazingatia na tutaomba Mungu tuyafanyie kazi
katika mashauri mengi ambayo umetufundisha. Asante sana Dokta. Tutaendelea labda hata kukuuliza maswali, hatuwezi kuuliza sasa, lakini baadaye tutakutafuta ili pengine, kwa sababu wewe ndiyo mwenyekiti wa AFTA, tunakutegemea kuwa hospitali za nafsi utazisimamisha na utafanya kama ulivyofanya kama Profesa Kaiiruki. Alikuwa halali usiku kwa ajili ya AFTA. AFTA ilikuwa ni AFTA, anarudi usiku saa ngapi, watu tumeshalala, lakini aliweza kukaa na Dr. Kaiiruki na wengine wote waliokuwepo kuhakikisha AFTA imesimama. AFTA, sisi Kaiiruki tuna chuo. Mimi nafikiri kuna muhimu wa AFTA kuhakikisha wale wafanyakazi ambao wako katika hospitali ya private wanaweza kuja hapa kwenye chuo chetu wakafundishwa vitu, pengine baadaye watakuwa na short courses, wanapanga hii hospitali za private zipate kufaidika, kwa sababu lazima tuwe kitu kimoja, tuwe na nguvu moja, kusiweko na tofauti za kusema tunashindana. Sisi hatushindani, hatuna sababu ya kushindana. Sisi private tuna sababu ya kushirikiana na kuona, je, mahospitali yetu yataendeleaje? Kwa hiyo naamini utakwenda kukutana kwenye mikutano ya private, kuhamasisha mahospitali uweze kuleta wafanyakazi katika kufundisha mambo zaidi na zaidi, kwa sababu sisi, labda nikumbuka wakati tunaanza hospitali hii, baadaye tulianza kutuma manesi wauguzi waende kujifunza kitu, tukakuta na madaktari ulikuwa ambao siku zile walienda kujifunza, walikwenda Sweden. Kwa hiyo sasa watu wakanatuuliza, wewe private, kwa nini upeleke wafanyakazi waende kufundishwa? Sasa alivyojibu akasema, tunawapeleka ili warudi wamepata ujuzi zaidi na waweze kusaidia nchi yetu. Kwa hiyo ni kitu cha muhimu sana tu encourage na mahospitali yetu ya private yaweze kupeleka wafanyakazi pia nje au Tanzania au nchi nyingine zozote, ili tukiwa na wagonjwa tupate kuwauguza kisawasawa. Cha kingine, natoa shukrani na pongezi kwa madaktari wanne walioungana naye katika kutoa mada mbalimbali. Nawashukuru sana sana sana. Naona ilikuwa special. Naamini mlioyazungumza hapa mtayaendeleza hapa hospitalini pamoja na pengine na hospitali nyingine. Namshukuru Profesa Eda Vuhaula, mwenyekiti wa mhadhara huu. Asante sana, naona mhadhara ulienda vizuri. Aidha, naenda kutoa shukrani na pongezi nyingi kwa viongozi wote wa hospitali na chuo kikuu pamoja na chuo cha uzi, bila kusahau wafanyakazi wote wa Kaiiruki Health Education Network kwa kufanya kazi kwa juhudi na maarifa kuhakikisha taasisi zote za Kaiiruki Health Education Network zinaendelea kuwepo kwa kipindi chote cha miaka 27. Kwa hiyo nawashukuru sana wale ambao walikuwepo, na nawashukuru sana ambao wameendelea kuingia katika institution yetu ili tuweze kufanya kazi ya kufanya mafunzo na kuhudumia Watanzania wote. Mmepitia changamoto za kila aina, lakini mmejitahidi kwa pamoja kuzitua, mkiwa mnazingatia wosia ambao muasisi alituachia kwa kutusihi tuhakikishe kwamba taasisi alizoziacha zinaendelea kuwepo na kudumu hata kwa vizazi vijavyo. Huo ndio ulikuwa usia wa Profesa Kaiiruki. Kwa hiyo na shukuru sana kuwa wote waliopo na wanaoendelea kuja tunafuata jambo hilo. Pia napenda nichukue nafasi hii kushukuru sana kamati ya maandalizi kwa kupanga na kutekeleza mipango yote ya maadhimisho ya mwaka huu kuanzia tarehe 2 mwezi wa 2026 ambapo wafanyakazi na wanafunzi walitoa huduma mbalimbali za afya kwa wananchi bila malipo mpaka leo. Nafikiri na kesho wataendelea. Mmeonyesha ushirikiano mkubwa katika kuendesha shughuli hizo. Napenda kuwaasa viongozi, wafanyakazi na wanafunzi tuendelee kumwenzi muasisi kwa kutoa huduma iliyotukuka kwa wananchi kama yeye mwenyewe alivyopenda kufanya. Nimalizie kwa kuwakaribisha tena kesho. Kesho kutakuwa ndio kilele ambapo tutakamilisha kwa maadhimisho ya miaka mitatu ya huduma tangu kufunguliwa rasmi kwa kituo cha Kaiiruki Green IVF ambacho kilifunguliwa tarehe 6 Februari 2023, ikiambatana na uzinduzi wa mtambo wa teknolojia ya laser katika maabara ya upandikizaji mimba. Shughuli itaanza saa 2 kamili asubuhi na mgeni rasmi atakuwa katibu mkuu wa Wizara ya Afya. Kwa hiyo watakaopata nafasi, karibuni sana, tushirikie tumalize kilele hiki ambacho kwa kweli mmekaa siku nzima, masaa mengi. Kwa hiyo nawaomba karibuni sana, saa 2 kamili tuwe tumeshafika. Itakuwa ni Bunju, nafikiri mnapafahamu kule IVF Center pale. Ni kwa hiyo karibuni sana ili tuwe pamoja. Mwisho, napenda kuchukua nafasi hii pia kushukuru kwa dhati kabisa wageni waalikwa wote kwa kuitikia wito wetu na kuja kushiriki pamoja nasi na kuchangia mawazo katika mhadhara huu ambao ni mhadhara muhimu kwa leo katika historia ya Kaiiruki Health Education Network, na bila kuwasahau wapendwa wanahabari ambao walikuwa nasi tangu tarehe 2. Asante sana na waombea Mwenyezi Mungu awabariki, atupe nguvu na afya katika shughuli zetu. Asante.
Jamani, makofi yetu yakiwa pole sana. Kwa niaba ya mhadhara huu tushukuru sana mama, wewe ndiye mwenyeji wetu na kwa kushikilia huu mwenge wenye mwanga mpaka sasa hivi. Achukua ile torch na inaendelea. Ili nisipoteze muda, nichukue pia nafasi hii kuwashukuru sana wote mliohudhuria. Sherehe bila wakikuja isingekuwa na maana. Sasa tunakwenda kumaliza kabisa. Naomba nimkaribishe kwanza Ustadhi Siku Ramadhani ili atufungie kwa sala. Amani kwa sehemu ya maono ambayo alianzisha. Karibu sana Ustadhi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bwana Yesu Kristo asifiwe. Ni
ikiwa watu wangu walioitwa kwa jina langu watajinyenyekesha na kuomba na kunitafuta uso na kuziacha njia zao mbaya, basi nitasikia kutoka mbinguni na kuwasamehe dhambi yao na kuiponya nchi yao. Naomba tusimame. Baba, katika jina la Yesu, asante kwa yote mema tuliyopokea mahali hapo Bwana. Asante kwa kila mmoja aliyesimama kutoa mada ambayo Bwana tumeipokea kwa moyo wa shukrani. Asante kwa ajili ya viongozi wa taasisi hii ambao wameendeleza taasisi hii. Sasa tunapoomba salama tukakuta katika jina lako Baba, Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Amen. Bwana akubariki na kukulinda. Bwana akuangazie nuru za uso wake na kufadhili. Bwana akuinulie uso wake na kukupa amani. Katika jina la Baba na Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Amen. Niwatakie siku njema yenye furaha.